Hey everyone, I'm excited to start this new series going through the books of the Bible. We're starting with Hebrews. It'll just be a chapter by chapter study through the book of Hebrews, and my heart really is to just take what the Bible has, break it down, teach it, and really see how we apply the scriptures to our lives today. And so going through the book of Hebrews, we're going to go maybe chapter by chapter. Maybe sometimes it'll be shorter than that. It depends on the passage. But we're going to try to take our time on it and have short 5-10 minute videos on each lesson. So getting into the book of Hebrews, I want to give a little bit of intro information and then we'll go from there. The book of Hebrews was addressed to Jewish Christians. Now, these are Jewish people who believed in the Old Testament, the Mosaic Law, the Old Covenant, that are now converted. They're coming to Jesus. They're entering into a relationship with Jesus. And so what's happening here is they're having a struggle of faith and understanding how the Old Testament fits into the New Testament. Really, how the Old Testament fits into this time they were seeing with Jesus coming to the scene. And so this book was written, the date is approximately around the 60s AD. The author is unknown. There's a lot of different theories. Some say it's Paul, some say it was Apollos, some say Barnabas. It really isn't known who the author is. It doesn't show like the other letters that we know it's Paul or Peter, John. This one is ambiguous. But the purpose is very clear. The purpose is this. It's warning the Jewish Christians who have just come to the Christian faith, which back then it was really just called the Way. They're followers of Jesus. These new Christians, there's a warning to not fall back into Judaism, into the Old Covenant, into the Mosaic Law. Now there was pressure from everywhere around them to do exactly that. There's these group called the Judaizers, which are these group of religious, Old Testament religious leaders who are saying to these new Christians that following Jesus was actually heresy, that it was actually apostatizing from the faith, that some of these people were getting kicked out of the synagogues, which is the Jewish church really, getting kicked out of their communities, their faith communities, because of their newfound faith in Jesus. And so they're struggling, they're wrestling with their faith. And of course, the temptation would be then to fall back into what they're accustomed to, what they're used to, what everyone's saying that they should do, back into the old law, into the Mosaic Law, into the Old Covenant. And so this letter, again, we don't know who it is from, but it's addressed to these people to say, hey, do not fall back into the old law. Do not fall back into the Mosaic Law and the old way of doing things. Do not fall back into Judaism. Now, Judaism, of course, is the root of Christianity. And so it's not that the author's saying, do away with the Old Testament. No. He shows how the Old Testament is fulfilled in Jesus. How each of these aspects of the Mosaic Law are fulfilled in Jesus. So the author is saying, don't get rid of the Old Testament. Don't get rid of those roots. Don't get rid of all those things. But see how it is fulfilled in Jesus and don't fall back into what you're used to. And the theme of the book of Hebrews goes right in with that. The theme of the book of Hebrews so clearly throughout is this, that Jesus is greater. Jesus is greater. Jesus is the fulfillment of these things. So the author, as we'll see, chapter by chapter, goes through these lists of all these Mosaic laws and requirements and structures and shows how Jesus fulfills each and every one of those things. Therefore, we are to follow Jesus and not the Mosaic Law. The old has gone away, the new has come. And Jesus shows how he's the fulfillment of all of these things. So I'm excited about this book. I hope and pray that as we go through it, you'll keep this introduction in mind. And I hope it's an encouragement to you, realizing that we all have struggles of faith. We all have struggles of faith. Maybe you are curious about Christianity and you're from a different religion, and so you're going to have a struggle. You're going to have a struggle of faith of what is the truth. Maybe you are you're born and raised in the church, but maybe you are more accustomed to the way church did things and maybe rules around religion, that you never really saw the Bible or saw Jesus for who he truly is. You're going to have a struggle of faith going on, and I hope and pray that this series will help you in that, seeing how everything points to Jesus. Everything points to Jesus. When we get too caught up in the religious laws and different things that all have a place, but when we get too caught up and fixated on those, we really start getting disillusioned and getting confused. But when we fix our eyes on Jesus and we see through the book of Hebrews how Jesus fulfills all of these things, we can have a clarity and a sense of direction that following Jesus is the way. Jesus said that he's the way, the truth, and the life. And so if we follow him, we are going to experience truth, life, and the right way of living. So I'm hoping that this series is an encouragement to you. We're going to take our time through this, and I really think that this is going to bless you in your walk with Jesus.